I grew up in, I'd say, a pretty typical middle-class neighborhood. It was mostly white. It was fairly safe. I would, play outside and play on my street. At the same time, I don't feel like I have a sense of my neighborhood that other people might, because I did not go to school in my neighborhood. So I wasn't playing a lot with other kids on my street or in my neighborhood. I went to a private school, to a Waldorf school, and people came from all over Sonoma County to that school. So when I think about growing up, a lot of it didn't take place in my neighborhood. I was always at other people's houses all over the county. So while I have fond memories of my neighborhood and felt happy and safe there, I didn't have so much of that sense of community just because of not going to school in that area. So Waldorf School is a really interesting model. It's based on the beliefs of an Austrian man named Rudolf Steiner, and so they have a lot of this kind of school in Europe. And a lot of people look at it as kind of a hippie school. And it was wonderful for me until about maybe 4th or 5th grade. There were no textbooks. We made our own textbooks based on the lessons that we were doing and what the teacher was teaching us. We would basically illustrate and write and dictate our own books. There were no grades. We got report books at the end of the year with comments on how we were doing. There was very little homework. We started getting homework a couple times a week, and then a little bit more by the time I left. Really not many tests. We had spelling tests, but that was about it. And the school was on a farm. So we would go out and work in the garden and do things like that. There were a lot of, it was very focused on creativity. So there was a lot of music. We all learned how to knit and crochet and make things. But the interesting thing about it is that, well, one of the interesting things about it is that the teacher is with the same class from 1st grade through 8th grade. So I had basically the same classmates, besides a few people coming and going throughout the years, and the same teacher from the time I was in 1st grade to the time I was in 8th grade. That teacher would teach us all the main morning lessons, and then in the afternoon we would have some specialty teachers come in and do other lessons. But that's a really challenging thing about the model, because that teacher has to be competent to teach all subjects and all age groups. And the teacher that I had was wonderful with the younger kids, but once we got into maybe 4th grade or so, and we're going through a lot of changes, he wasn't quite as good at dealing with some of those changes and some of the things that were going on in the class. So I started disliking it, and that's why I switched over to public school, because it was also cost a lot of money. My parents said, if you don't like school, you might as well not like school for free. But I got a really good education. Like I said, when I switched to public school, I was really nervous because I had never used a textbook. I had never taken regular tests. I had never gotten grades. So I didn't know how I was going to do. And I actually, I had to decide which classes to start in. And I started in 8th grade in a pre-algebra as opposed to algebra class. And then when I got there, I found out oh, I know all of this. We might have had a different name for it, but I was not at all behind academically. Socially, I was a little bit sheltered and had to learn to talk to people and come out of my shell, because I had been with the same 30 students for my whole life. And I thought that people would want to talk to me, but because at the Waldorf school, if we got a new kid in the class, it was exciting. It's oh, somebody new. We've been with the same kids all the time. But when I was going into a class that had 300 kids, nobody cared if there was 301. So it was good for me. I had to learn how to push myself and learn a lot about how to make friends. They don't just come to you.
Hi, my name is Rich Figueroa. Hi, my name is Brother Vasquez.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Shimpango.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Reyes.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hernandez.